Hello, and welcome to the Two Dudes podcast, where we like to trick and treat. That doesn't make sense, but who cares? Let's talk about Wandavision episode 6. Oh, it's getting good.
It is.
It's
certainly getting good.
I saw a tweet and I agree wholeheartedly, which was the the first frame of the credits where it says "Please stand by." That is the worst image in the entire world. It is cruel and unusual punishment.
They know what they're doing there. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna make it so that you can only, you only get it once a week, but we're gonna make you feel that week. That week is gonna be longer than anything you've ever had. Like Mandalorian was week to week, and I absolutely adore Star Wars, but I could wait for Mandalorian. There were quite often times where I didn't watch it first thing in the morning. I waited till, say, Saturday, Sunday. I have to watch this as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, to be fair, I've definitely got more into the habit of Friday nights is Wanda nights. And I'm curious to see if that carries on. We got another trailer for Falcon and the Winter Soldier this week, and to me, it does not scream. I watch that show, they tell me it's going to be week to week, and I think, yeah, I think I could do that week to week. We'll see how it is. There's been some rumours and rumblings of certain other characters appearing, and I certainly do think there are lots of secrets hidden away in that show that we just have no idea about.
I think the issue they've got going into Falcon and Winter Soldier, from especially with WandaVision and also then the past couple of movies being Endgame and stuff, and even Far From Home.
Yeah.
Every property that's come out has been universe changing. Like, it's changed the way we see it in the MCU. It's changed a big thing in the MCU. And I feel like at the moment, and this I do say at the moment because as we've seen with, WandaVision, they're very good at subverting expectations. At the moment, Falcon and the Winter Soldier feels like it's not going to be as impactful in terms of how the universe operates as everything else has been.
I find this idea quite funny because I remember seeing the trailers for Wandavision, and not me specifically, but I remember seeing a general thing saying, yes, we've got this big action-packed Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. There was much smaller scale Wandavision show, because obviously the full ramifications of knowing this was going to be the multiverse starter weren't really there when these both shows were first announced. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was first up. It was their big action foot forwards. And now they've come out with this, and it's like it is a high bar to reach. To talk on that high bar, this show has me. I am in. I am in, and I'm already ready to sit once the last episode comes out and watch them all in order before I watch that last episode.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to watch this as a movie.
They've managed to find a way of making everything pleasable. They could have very easily introduced all these different concepts, introduced all these different, twists and turns, and one of them felt cheap, or a couple of them just would have meant that we would have switched off or gone, that's not exactly believable, or I don't exactly see how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
We've seen in many other different TV shows characters turn from light to dark.
Yeah.
And this is probably one of the only ones where wholeheartedly I sit there and watch it and go, yeah, okay. And I don't even question whether it's possible. And I just go, yeah, makes sense, carry on. And every single time they bring something new in, every single time something changes, I still don't question it. I go, okay, cool, now let's find out what's next.
This show has been, to describe it in a different way, this is an artisan show. This has been handcrafted. It feels every word, every look, every glance has been chosen for a reason, has been specifically selected to have 50 different meanings. It flows from one thing to the next. I think the idea of these 20-minute show, the only reason they have done it, and I think the reason I respect and am so happy they did it, is because it makes sense. Every 20 minutes is a different sitcom, and that's what they bring, apart from episode 4, and that's what they bring every single week, is a new sitcom, a new world. No explanation as to why it's changed, but it does. I guess the closest we got was at the end of episode 3, where we watch the transformation happen, but in no other episode have we seen that transformation. We've just started, and this is the world you're in, and you never feel like you question it, but you're never like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't where we were last week.
It's never disjointing.
Yes, it just makes sense, and you're just on board. And I gave credit to Jack Schaefer, I think it was, I'm a showrunner for this, but I think also Matt Shankman, I believe his name is, the director for all the episodes, just an absolutely phenomenal job with making visually distinct each sitcom, which I think is relatively speaking easy when you've got such beautiful archetypes to build from. But the fact that every single time you step into the real world, there is a different air. It feels different. It looks different. We had scenes in a town square at night, and we had scenes on a military base at night, and they felt like different planets. The way they're shot, the way the cinematography,
the transitions between the
different.
two have been brilliant, and you're right, the cinematography is incredible. And I think I think what helps sell that is the familiarity. The outside world is MCU. You watch it and you go, I'm watching an MCU movie, I'm watching Captain America, I'm watching, this is just what it is, that's just the way it's shot. And then, which is a massive thing in itself, because to be able to, for the MCU to have created this cinematic style in itself is brilliant, and then for them to be able to recreate it on a smaller scale is brilliant. But then the fact that they've gone, okay, let's not just make things look like the 20s or make things look like Bewitched and stuff like that, we'll make it feel like it. And I've actually just remembered exactly what the last episode maybe reminded me of. Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh, is that the show it's based off?
Well, I don't think it is.
I've no idea.
But it's the fourth wall breaking, talking. When I was growing up in the 90s, that was very much what it was. Like, you had, I'm thinking of the likes of Lizzie McGuire, That's So Raven, Malcolm in the Middle, even Scrubs, where he's very much narrating over himself. But these shows that they're not self-aware, but they are very
self-referential,
and it worked, especially in the current situation, especially with the likes of then Quicksilver's character, who was very much on the same ilk, but completely different. And I want to point out Quicksilver, because obviously we knew he was going to be a massive part of however this show progressed.
Yes.
But the filmmakers and the story writers here have managed to do an amazing job of giving us a character where we're all really excited to see what he does, and he's also almost the audience's eye. Yeah. Like, he's asking the same questions to Wanda that we'd all be asking. He's turning around and doing the same things that we'd all be like, well, yeah, he knows it's not real. He knows he can just mess around. And that for me is, I'm very much with Quicksilver, which is weird.
It's for Jimmy Woo of the outside in that question asking. I think to go back to the point on the look of this show, I think the one big comparison that I think should be made that hasn't been made, and I must say, I can confess that I haven't watched the last few seasons, but I watched the first several seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think another thing is, if you watch the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And watch the second episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they are light years away from each other. And if you watch any of them compared to this show or any Marvel movie, they are light years away. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had a real cheap feeling quality. I don't think there was anything wrong with the quality of the show specifically, but every time you looked at it, you were just like, this is lazy, this is cheap. The only thing we have seen in outside S.H.I.E.L.D. is nothing more than we saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We've seen absolutely nothing different or new. It's a small thing with lots of tents and some vans. That's basically it. But every time I see it, I feel like I'm in a Marvel movie. I feel like Captain America could walk onto that set. Iron Man could fly in.
Yeah. Even I'd say the Netflix shows, which of course aren't cheaply shot, they are brilliant, and I think credit where credit's due.
It's a very different thing though, isn't it?
But exactly, but they're set in a universe where the Avengers existed, and it's still, I don't know if they were meant to, when they were first created, to be a part of the MCU in any way, but I think having that referential style there meant that it should have connected itself to the MCU in a way that when they first presented it, I think it's later seasons of them, and when the Defenders came out, no, of course not, but say the first couple of episodes of Daredevil,
they tried to
feel like the MCU.
You
couldn't imagine Iron Man existing in that world.
I don't think at any point in any of the Marvel Netflix shows do I think it is in the MCU. I think it was a rushed attempt, a money-grabbing attempt to get on the bandwagon, just as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was. And I think these shows deserve credit, the Disney Plus shows, that is, deserve credit for being above the cut, above the rest. They have decided we will be part of it. They have spent the money to make them look part of it. Well, but they've spent also the time, the care and the consideration to make sure these ideas and concepts and visuals and the way everything feels, it feels right.
Well, I think and I think this is where we can very much put, hit the nail on the head and say, well, this is where Kevin Feige's influence comes into it, because now Kevin Feige's in charge of both, of all aspects of Marvel in terms of the publications, but also the TV and film, and you can feel that because there's a certain through line that you can go, yes, this is in the same universe, and put it in there. I
do want to give credit, as you've said, to Feige. Of course, this is his masterminded project, but he is only an executive producer on this. So I think, again, I just want to hammer home that these people, the directors, the writers, the showrunner, they need to be hired constantly and endlessly. And this show is a phenomenal display of talent that I know, or I think will not get the awards appreciation it so richly deserves, because it is slowly descending into Marvel insanity. And I think if you take things like the Quicksilver reveal, that has no pull with an awards voter. It doesn't interest me.
I tell you now, from this episode, I honestly feel like the Quicksilver reveal, as big of a thing as it was, is only the start of the reveals that come. I think this episode especially, it's just almost steamrolled over 5 or so things that make it very, these, if they were in their own episode, would have been huge things, the kids getting their powers, or Vision not being able to escape and it pulling them apart, or all of the sword agents getting swallowed up by the Hex, or all of these things could have been very much the pinnacle of that singular episode, but they were all just part of it, and Quicksilver being a part of it and knowing everything that's going on and sort of accepting everything that Wanda's doing is another part of it. Like, in earlier episodes, say episode 3, episode 4, they'd have been the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think it shows,
that's brilliant.
It shows the pace, the speed at which this show is now moving, not to make a Quicksilver pun, but I think this show isn't stopping now. I think there's quite a few questions we've left to answer, and I think next episode is the episode we will start to see them. I pointed this out to you already, but we've seen, I think, 2 shots. There are now literally 2 shots left that we haven't seen in 3 episodes left. Being the one where Wanda says she's got a case of the Mondays. In fact, there's another one where she's fixing the house and the house is glitching. And then
and she turns around and,
one more where Vision says it's our home, we should fight for it.
Fight for it, yeah.
And that's it. That's really all we haven't seen. We don't know if... We know there's one more sitcom being like I think it's Modern Family sort of talking to the camera, The Office style thing. And then that's it. We don't really know if is the Halloween era sitcom going to carry on into next episode, or are we going to run the sitcoms down to modern day?
Yeah, well, because we've still yet to, so I have a feeling the next episode will 100% be we're going to the fair, because they've turned all these people into a circus. So I think that's where the next episode will go. But
maybe.
But I don't think it'll be WandaVision. I don't think it'll be WandaVision. I don't think it'll be Wanda's choice. I think it will be the choice of the likes of Billy and Tommy, because they're not in her control. Now, the interesting thing I want to ask you is what's going to now happen to Vision. He has tried to escape. He's tried to tell Sword to help the people that are in there. Is Wanda not going to allow him out now?
So there's lots of questions to ask of this episode. In terms of Vision and what happened, I think it was interesting that when he left, he didn't become dead.
No.
Billy's
could hear him.
Wiccan. Billy could hear him. Billy says he's dying, which is odd. I think we discussed last week the point where she turns the barrier red, and I wonder, can anyone ever leave?
I think, that for me, that red barrier is almost like elastic band that will pull and pull and pull on whoever's trying to leave.
But again, I don't think it's pulling, because remember, she had to expand it to save his life. She didn't just go and get him and pull him back in. That would have been so easy. She expanded it to what seemingly was far further than she needed to. Maybe she lost control a little to keep him in. And I think we didn't see Vision fade back into the parts of a robot we knew he was in. We saw him literally being ripped to his core. And I think something very interesting is happening there.
That was what I expected. I when he got to the barrier and when he started walking out, I expected him to almost pull a hand through and that hand to lose the colour.
Yeah.
And as he sort of eventually went through, he just almost fall apart.
Yeah. But beyond whatever he was, it was so destructive. I think he was dying.
Yeah, he was being torn apart, I feel it.
I think again we've seen another example. We saw lots of examples of Wanda. She cannot control this whole town. She said last week that, what do you think, I'm making everyone walk their dog and go to the dentist? No, you're not. If you're not near them, they're just broken.
I feel like it works the same way as almost like a video game would. It only loads what's in front of them.
If anyone's seen the Rick and Morty episode where they are stuck in the simulation, it's very similar to how once they walk near the edge of it, it stops existing, because why would it render? It's like a treadmill. It's like this town is like a treadmill for Wanda and Vision. Whether they go, it loads around them, but it's trying to exert so much it can't keep up with everyone. And I think now we've seen it expand significantly. Oh boy, all gloves are off, I think.
But the thing is, the circus, when we saw them in there, they were still moving. So has she, in the fact that she's expanded the hex, has she released more of her own power? We know from comics, obviously, so we don't know what it's going to be like in the actual MCU, but in comics, Wanda's power is almost limitless. She almost controls it herself, which is why she's able to do the whole no more mutants. But I feel she's becoming more powerful.
I don't think that anything that happened at the end of the episode is a clue. I think it's more just the visual of the people are running away and they've become the clowns. I think if you change it from them keep running, it's not necessarily clear.
Yeah,
what
it needs
happened.
They had almost like a jump, almost like not a jump cut, but match cut.
Yeah, I think it needed to keep exactly the same thing. Otherwise, it might not be clear to, again, the more casual viewers exactly what's happened. Oh, they've swapped them for some clowns. No, these are the same people. And I think,
again, credit where credit's due to the filmmakers. It's like, I honestly feel like it's seamless.
Yeah.
Because to be able to do that, they obviously had to film 2 separate scenes. Never when watching it did I feel like it was 2 separate scenes. I feel like, honestly, Wanda had just changed it. It was just genuinely brilliant. And I think that's just kind of what's happened in throughout the entire series, really, is that, and I know it's kind of weird to say special effects, but because in a series like this, not much really needs to go into it. The special effects in this series have been not seamless. There have been issues, especially in like this episode. I did feel like Vision, when he was flying, felt like, okay, we're back in the MCU again, because the CGI is a bit weird. But other than that, all the on ground stuff, all the changing of things in shot, all the them doing super speed and Wanda zapping Quicksilver away was seamless. It was brilliant. It was honestly as if, it's actually happening.
Yeah, I think the boundary comes back to the thing we talked about last week of, we've now seen that Monica, who has passed through the boundary, passed through the hex twice, is changing the very fabric of her DNA, and I think
almost mutating.
All but confirmation that this is the origin of mutants in the MCU. That the way the barrier passes over people will change them to mutants. I think I've seen some people say that, oh, that's not going to happen because every X-Men ever was in this town. No, I think you're right what you said last week.
Yeah, I was going to say, bringing back to what I said last week, this idea that whatever might happen to the Hex, I feel like it won't just disappear, it will almost implode. That energy will spread itself across the world, which will cause loads of people to be almost, not infected, but the mutant gene will be activated, or the mutant gene will be there and created within inside them, and it will take a while for them. I think we will see we'll see Monica become a mutant within this episode, or within this series, because I think it will be... I
would agree now.
I think it'll be almost what could bring Wanda back. I think that idea of we're in this together.
And I think...
Because I think the issue at the moment between Wanda and actually trusting Monica was always... It is kind of like, you don't understand. You don't know what it's like to be like me. Yeah. And she could turn around if she was to develop powers and go, look, I know what it's now like to be like you. I need help just as much as you do. Can we help each other?
Yeah.
And it's almost like she could almost go, oh, well, this is new for me. Maybe I can make more mutants.
But I don't think she does it deliberately. I think it's really important that it needs to be an accidental decision. And I think, again, she doesn't know that she's changing Monica's DNA when she pulls her in and throws her out. It's just happening. I think we see it in Tommy and Billy. They were born inside this Hex. They have powers too, and I think it's very clear. While I thought maybe they were using their powers in the womb before they were born, I think actually now they only develop them when they sort of hitting adolescence, puberty, which is exactly when the mutant gene develops powers. And I think that's a conscious decision. They could have had them last episode. They could have had them as little kids, but they waited until this moment for them. They developed them very close together in time. Obviously, time's a bit iffy, but I think that is more to do with it being clear to be a mutant gene. I think there is going to be one more time jump in those kids, and we're going to see them become young adults. And that'll either be how they start next episode, or we'll see them age up one more time. Another thing from Monica, she has a friend. I think he said aerospace engineer. Who is it? That's a question. Rumours of Reed Richards, which I think is exceptionally unlikely.
No. I mean, it'd be absolutely mind-blowing, but it wouldn't make sense.
I think it would. He is an aerospace engineer.
Yeah, but it wouldn't make sense to introduce him into this.
I think it would. I think you could do it. I think it would be...
I honestly think the friend may be important, or maybe someone we know, but I have a feeling we won't see them. I have a feeling the next time we'll see Monica is when she's ready to re-enter. No,
we will see them because you don't... In a mystery series, so far everything they've hinted at, we've seen the answer of. The mentions of Pietro.
So, just having a thought, it might definitely be Reed Richards, because she's getting something from him that would allow her to go through an energy field, which
is what
which is the Big Bang, which is like cosmic energy, which is what created the Fantastic Four. You know, if it would make complete sense if it's Reed Richards.
Exactly.
Of course, that's the Fantastic Four's whole. All their suits were that exact thing. It's to withstand the energy that they've got.
Yeah, I would be interested at the very least to see if this was a Fantastic Four Reed Richards. This is just a Reed Richards who is Reed Richards. But I would also be interested to see, well, maybe this is how he also gets his powers. Maybe the Fantastic Four
this is the thing.
Are also mutants.
Maybe what we see, and I think this would be an interesting thought, because obviously with Spiderman we've not had an origin story, and they've done that deliberately because we don't need origin stories much anymore. Yeah. Maybe with the Fantastic Four, the same with Spider-Man, the past two series of Fantastic Four movies have given them origins and have not been great. Maybe they do the same thing and they just go, well, the Fantastic Four movie is going to be them as the Fantastic Four. We're not learning learning how they got the powers because we've seen it 5 times.
Yeah,
it's just them as the Fantastic Four. So maybe this is exactly as you say, the way that
they
the
just
Fantastic Four get the
introduced.
powers.
It would be quite fascinating to see 2 Fox properties just folded straight into Wandavision. Yep, they're here now.
That'd be one way of doing it, yeah. Rip the band-aid off.
Other people I think it could be someone we've seen before. We know that Abomination is being brought back for the She-Hulk TV series.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I'm not thinking of anyone specifically, but I wonder if there's any other smaller or more forgotten players in the MCU that will be back.
It could be a Skrull. Because you got to think about who Monica might know. And I think that's the thing, is either going to be someone to do with Sword, or someone to do with her connection to other superheroes.
Yeah, but I would say, does Monica know about Skrulls?
But yeah, she was there when...
No, does she know about Skrulls who are currently on Earth? Because she was dead for 5 years. When did she...
Yeah, but she knew about them when... as Carol was...
But I'm saying there weren't any on Earth then. They all got taken to space. I'm saying it would have to be someone who was around, yes, maybe Captain Marvel time, but more early MCU, back when she was becoming important in show. Because remember, she was a child. She's not that old. She was a child in the 90s, so it can't have been much earlier than that she would have been getting involved in this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a new character.
I think it'll be... If it's going to be anyone from Fantastic Four, it'll be Sue Storm. It won't be Reed Richards.
It would be. It wouldn't be Sue Storm, because Reed is the heiress. Because Reed, the specific scientist which she says she is what Reed's actual job title is. Yeah. That's what he is, apparently. And there's a thing that I've seen that is him saying that's what he does.
That'd be crazy.
I think... another point would be, I think you could put him on the screen without any explanation and a lot of people would recognise him. I think Sue Storm's just a blonde. He's got a specific hairstyle. Yes, Doctor Strange stole it.
Yeah, but if she goes, thanks, Sue, or something, everyone would go...
Oh, I know, but I'm saying, like, with Quicksilver at the end, she says you recast Pietro. If you just said that's Reed, if you said that's Sue, you'd be like, who on earth's Sue?
Sue from down the road, don't you know her?
Don't you know Sue? And that's this is not a diss on Sue Storm, by the way. She's great, but I'm just saying,
and
in the same way, I think if it was Johnny Storm, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is Johnny. You're like, okay, cool, Johnny, whatever.
Ben Grimm.
Yeah, or Ben.
Mechanical.
I have a feeling, you said earlier it might not be a thing. This is a big thing. Whoever this is will be significant. Whether it be someone hugely important. I think you could argue it could be a member of the X-Men who is about to get their powers for the first time.
Could be Beast.
It could be someone like Beast. Could be Hank McCoy. I think this will be someone important.
Yeah.
Quicksilver also is important.
Yeah. Now I said to you right afterwards, I thought it might be Mephisto, just because of the way that he was probing her to find out how she did it.
The common conception on the internet appears to be that Quicksilver is Mephisto. We've seen that this is clearly, in a way, neither version that we have seen before. This is not Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver. This is not Evan Peters' X-Men Quicksilver. There is a nuance to whatever he is. You started with Mephisto, which we'll start with, because that's the general conception.
But... because here's the thing. When we spoke about this last night, you mentioned... Pardon?
I made a point, which is that he asks a question of, but what happened to the kids? Where were the kids? And it's a great question. Where were all these children? And I think, again, it's important.
I love how she pulled them out for the Halloween specials.
Yeah, I think it's important, but I think the bigger question is, we believe Mephisto is running the joint. That's the point of him being Quicksilver. He's come in to keep Wanda sedated. This is not a Quicksilver keeping her sedated. This is a Quicksilver who constantly keeps winding her up.
Yeah.
And if it was Mephisto, he would know what happened to the children because he would be more powerful.
Well, I think the only way it could be Mephisto, or any character I think that is technically more powerful than Wanda, is that actually, like Pietro in the story, she only came in later on when he was drawn to the amount of power she was creating.
Maybe.
So maybe Wanda did create this without realising, because of her grief, because of her sadness. And she did create this entire world, and then that rang alarm bells almost with Mephisto going, wait, hang on, something really powerful is going on. Just like, Dormammu and Caecilius in Doctor Strange, it's almost this calling. And that's why then Mephisto's came in and she went, well, I can't enter, just like Monica's obviously figured out, I can't just enter as myself. I've got to be almost allowed to be there. And as Monica got chucked out, I've got to be someone that she won't ever get rid of. I think there's a certain tricksteriness about him. And I know that the mix between the two of them is very prankster, especially like that's very Evan Peters, Quicksilver, the annoyance almost. And then when you have the more down-to-earth conversation, it's less awkward than Evan Peters' version, so it's more Aaron Taylor-Johnson. I think you made a point of... So do you want to talk about the mix of the two of them?
So
the idea is...
Yeah, my current theory, my current idea, basically, is that... I think one huge important thing is there's lots of contradiction. There's lots of ideas that people have got, but every single one seems to have a contradictory statement. So like with Mephisto, I think most of what he does make sense for it to be Mephisto, until he asks about the children, because why on earth wouldn't he know? Yes, it's possible Wanda's like overpowering and doing more, but it happened so early, it doesn't quite make sense. But one of the things, I don't think it makes sense for it to be Aaron Taylor-Johnson in a new body, because why make it Evan Peters' body? I think it's such a throwaway line of like, he says that why would you want to see that? Why would you want to remember that? Yeah, true, but also Vision. She's remembering Vision's dead body. Why can't she remember that? I think we see Quicksilver when he's dead. We see Evan Peters' dead body. Not a flash to Aaron Taylor-Johnson, which again, if he was just converting it, which would make sense. I think somewhere along the line, Evan Peters' Quicksilver has been merged has had sort of a consciousness maybe of Aaron Taylor-Johnson put into his body, and then over all that, they have been put into the sitcom mindset just as everyone else has once they've got in. He's only playing the part of a brother because she wants him to. Just as Monica could have played the part of a 1940s SHIELD agent, sword agent, but she didn't want him to. Or not 40, you know what I mean? I think from what we hear of Quicksilver, we hear that she says, oh, I heard when I got shot calling out to you, and you were calling out to me. I think, you go, well, that's definitely Aaron Taylor-Johnson. But I say, well, we don't actually know how Evan Peters died, unless we do, because I haven't seen Dark Phoenix, but who cares?
Not died. He didn't die.
Okay, cool. So what if that's just how he dies? What if that's just how
Quicksilver dies?
Evan Peters dies in his universe, and he, before he died, was pulled to this universe and healed. Because in that moment, it just happened to be the right time, the right moment, and it happened.
I do agree with the idea that he's almost been given the memories of Alan Taylor-Johnson because of the fact that he's in that sort of like in that world. I think if Vision was to do his like mind thing on
that's what I want to see.
I think he wouldn't even recognise Wanda. I think it would be completely Evan Peters' Quicksilver at that point.
I think,
and he'd be like, where am I? Who the hell are you guys?
The other thing that makes me just still convinced this is Evan Peters is the memory. He has a memory of getting some rubbish trick or treat or some costumes that were made. He instigates that memory, which if you're talking Mephisto, he doesn't have these memories. This doesn't make sense. She later says, she later tries to memory check him. She checks that these memories are real because she remembers it differently. And I think that's the key point, is she remembers it differently. Not that she doesn't remember it happening, but she remembers it differently. More complication being, in Evan Peters' universe, they are not twins, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Scarlet Witch is a child much younger than Quicksilver, because we see a flash of her. But it's still possible that they went trick-or-treating together. And what we see as the viewer is Wanda's memory, but the description of it is different. Because honestly, I can't make heads and tails of what he was trying to say or what happened. But they were rubbish costumes. But what if they were different costumes? Or something, or something, or something. I'm pretty solid. I think, again, Marvel keeps it simple. The MCU keeps it simple. If they are about to open the multiverse, it is a real punch in the face to anyone who's trying to keep track of what's going on and struggling, a casual viewer, to also be like, oh yes, so we're about to explore lots of different versions of characters, but this version of this character from this actual universe, he's not actually the same as that one, nor is he the same as the one from our universe. He's actually a different thing. We just cast him as a joke for people who knew that this guy was this. And
they
this
don't do anything. Yeah, they don't do anything for a joke. They do it on purpose. Yeah,
it's too complicated. I think you could have just cast anyone as Evan Peters. It's still a big shock that you dress him up like Quicksilver. It's still a shock. Bring Evan Peters back. Needs to be bringing back X-Men Quicksilver, or it's just a mess. It's just an almighty mess, and I think it will pull the show apart.
Wasn't one of the descriptions? Was it you that said the audio description for?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So the audio description for when
audio description, yeah.
When Quicksilver turned up was Quicksilver from the X-Men universe.
Yes.
Again, Marvel don't do stuff like that. Marvel would only say that if that's, legit.
Well, I wouldn't say Marvel. I'd say, again, from an audio describing purpose, Darcy says she recast Pietro. If it was an audio description, you'd just go, we see Pietro, but not Aaron Taylor Johnson, or not this universe Pietro. Why would you specify that it is from the X-Men universe? Yeah. Unless, I think it could still be Mephisto if you're saying, oh, Mephisto got confused because he travels the multiverse, he dressed up as the wrong one.
Yeah.
Again, complicated.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty set that this is Quicksilver. And one more tiny shred of evidence, which goes against everything I said last week. So, to a degree. So, we were talking last week about Wanda, Elizabeth Olsen saying in an interview that her favourite comic is, I think I mentioned this, that her favourite comic is House of M, and they planned it for 5 years. They've been planning to release Wandavision. I'm like, no, they didn't. No. It's the only Wanda comic. So Quicksilver, Evan Peters, is in an interview for Dark Phoenix Press Tour, and they ask, oh, would you like to come back? Obviously, I think this is when Marvel had got the rights. Anyway, they're asking questions about coming back or returning or doing anything more. And Ty Sheridan, and I can't remember who he sat next to. I think it's Jean Grey. Sophie Turner is just like, yeah, this universe is great, and Evan Peters is just like, eyes are shifting around the room, just like he's about to get sniped by Marvel if he opens his mouth, and he just sits. If you watch the video, it is so suspicious, just the way he's sat. It just looks so awkward. You wouldn't care, you'd think he's an idiot. And you take, well, how would he know? This has been like 2 years later, except WandaVision started filming around the same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it started filming an age ago, didn't it?
It would have been perfectly plausible for Marvel to have, at least, knowing how important this is to the series, have that conversation with him somewhat in advance.
Yeah.
So he would be
because
on
he needs
board.
to keep his schedule clear as well.
Yeah. So I think he knew ages ago, and I think this is X-Men Quicksilver.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say, and it's not really important, but I really appreciate it and I really enjoyed it, was the reference to Kick-Ass, which of course both Aaron Taylor Johnson and Evan Peters were in, and it was just a one-off line, and it made me quite happy to have that reference in there. I know we say Marvel don't do anything for any reason. I'm not saying that Kick-Ass is going to be part of the MCU, but it was just a nice little reference that I quite enjoyed.
Bit different. If they got Hit Girl to walk on, yeah, it's probably not a bit. You know what I mean? I can't remember who plays Hit Girl. Is it Hit Girl? Maisie Williams?
No. You're the same age. Can't remember what her name is.
The other one. I have no idea. I can't remember her name. But if they got that actress dressed up as Hit Girl and got her to walk by, yeah, bit suspicious, Probably didn't do that for no reason. That's the one. Chloe Grace Moretz. If they got Chloe Grace Moretz on the set of WandaVision just being Hit Girl, yeah. They're probably making a point to the MCU, probably not a joke, but I think a reference is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Safe to say we are both very excited for where this show goes, and I think the only way is up, to be honest with you. There are questions that are going to be answered, and there are mysteries that are going to be solved, and we'll be breaking it down for you for the next 3 weeks. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, tell us what you think, give us your theories, and we will see you next time on the Two Dudes Movie Podcast.
See you soon.